Okay, so in the previous tutorial, I think we have completed our camera pawn class. So today, let's look at how we can start working with our blueprint classes related to buildings. So first, I will go to the blueprints folder and create a new folder called buildings, and there I will create another folder called base, and over there I will create a new blueprint actor called BP building base. So basically this is the parent class for all the buildings that we are going to create throughout this tutorial series. So that's why I followed this sort of a fashion, right? I first created the buildings folder and I created the base folder, and within that base folder I'm creating the building base parent class. So let's open that up, and here first let's try to add a cube, maybe just for the demonstration purposes, and I'll name this as bounds, because later on we are going to add some collision testings as well, right? Because when you are placing your buildings, if it collide with an existing building, it should not be able to place on the map, so the color should be changed, or any sort of VFX can be played or sounds can be played. So in order to do that, I create this placeholder bound value or static mesh. So it's just for the it will be helpful for us to detect such collisions and stuff like that. But if you place the building as it is, you can see at the halfway of that specific mesh is at the ground, right? So that's not the intended way. Basically we have to move it up further. So let's move the perspective for the left, and let's move it like this, compile, and let's try to place it again to the map. Okay, now you can see the map, the building is placing in the correct way. Okay, so that's the first thing, and next we can add a static mesh, and I'll rename this as same standard. Basically it will display the static mesh of our building. So if you go into the props folder and RTS game starter kit, poly assets and buildings, so here are the assets that we need to create our building. So basically I have three types of resource buildings. We have a barn, we have a lumber hut, and we have a mine. And I have one type of a regular building, which is a house. So maybe we can use this house for spawn citizens, or maybe tax generations and stuff like that, for resource consumptions, stuff like that. Okay, so those are the four types of buildings we have, and I think this will serve as a parent class for all the building types. So just for the demonstration purposes, maybe I can add the same barn over here for this same standard static mesh, but you can see that the scale is massive. So let's downgrade it further, 0.25. Okay, now I think this is quite adequate, and let's move it up as well, compile, and paste. Let's try to place it on the map. Okay, now you can see we can place our buildings and it will display that specific static mesh. But as I said before, I will use this as a parent class, not the specific concrete static mesh assignment like this. Therefore I will remove that out, and I will override these sort of variables at the child classes level or child instance level. So let's create a new blueprint class, or maybe we can create a new folder for the resource buildings, and within that resource building class we can create another base class, because multiple resource buildings may have similar functionalities. So in order to achieve that, we can use sort of a parent resource building class. So I will create an actor, but since now I'm going to inherit this BP building base, I don't need to use this actor class. Instead of that, I can search for that specific building base class and select it, and I'll name this as resource building base. And if you open it up, you can see all the stuff that were in our BP building base has been inherited to our BP resource building base. So that's the benefit of having this sort of inheritance. Actually, these are object-oriented concepts, and we have to follow this sort of a fashion. Right? Then I can create another child class by inheriting this BP resource building base. So yeah, I think I should name this properly. It's not resource, it should be resource. Okay, blueprint class, resource building base, and I'll name this as BP top. And you can see that this is a specific child class that inherit BP resource building base, and BP resource building base inherit BP building base, right? So you can see how the inheritance works. And I will assign our barn mesh to this specific instance, right? Because it will be much more convenient. So now I can paste our barn to our map like this. Okay. Likewise, I can create another blueprint for the lumber hut, right? And open it out. Open full blueprint, report, same standard, lumber hut. Again, the scale seems massive, so I will downgrade it for the 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. And we don't need to transform the location, so I will keep it as 0. Compile and save. And I can paste that thing to the map as well. But yeah, maybe we can rotate it a little bit further to the, that will align with the forward axis, something like that, right? Okay, rotation is works, and we don't need to spawn this this thing as well, this default cube. So let's go to the building base and bounce, and maybe you can disable this visibility, right? So now that cube won't be visible, but later on I will make it visible because we need to do certain types of testing, such as collision testings and stuff like that. But in that specific scenario we can make it visible again. Okay, so the lumber hut is also added, and next thing we need to add is a mine or BP mine. Okay, my engine was crashed, so actually make sure to save everything when you are going to do any new task, because these sort of crashes can happen. Okay, anyway, let's see where we left off. Okay, I think the rotation is not applied yet, right? Okay, we can do that by simply going to the ADP number hut again, and let's rotate it a bit further. Okay, now I think the placements are correct. So maybe you can add an arrow component as well, so you can easily figure out what's the forward direction. So I'll add an arrow component, arrow. So this will basically signifies what is the forward axis. Maybe I can have a bit much further length. Okay, so this is the forward axis. Okay, and likewise let's create another blueprint for our mine. Actually this should name as BP mine instead of mine. Okay, let's open that out, and let's assign a same mine, and the scaling is a bit weird, so let's make it as 0.3, 0.3, 0.3. The rotation is not correct as well. Let's rotate it as maybe minus or maybe 90 degrees. Okay, let's try to place. Okay, so yeah, our resource buildings are there, and they have different types of static meshes. But for now it's just a manual placement, right? But this is not the intended way, so we should be able to place these resource buildings by using our mouse selections. But yeah, for now I think this thing is fine. For the playtesting level, this thing is okay, and in the future tutorials we will see how we can place our buildings by using a mouse position. Okay, and thank you. I'll see you in the next video.